is Mary, and this is my no-buy year. Beware the Ides of March. Fergus just cried to punctuate that famous saying. If you no longer remember from your English class who coined that phrase, here's a copy of an old master painting that I'm doing that will answer that question. And this is Fergus. He apparently is in charge of sound effects this afternoon. He likes to sing. Thank you for joining me. Today I have put together a wear test for two products. Number one is from a sample pack of the MER foundation, a very luxury foundation that came as a sample in some of the avalanche of purchases from the 2018 holiday season. And the other is a side-by-side comparison of both the Shiseido stick concealer, which I have under this eye, and the Clé de Peau concealer, stick concealer, which I have under this eye. If that sounds interesting to you, I hope you consider sticking around. It is Saturday morning. It's a beautiful spring day and my skin is in fairly good shape. So I thought before the seasonal allergies crash down on me with a vengeance, this would be the perfect morning to try my MER foundation. Now this is truly a luxury product that I've been coveting for some time. I picked up the sample. It was a gift with purchase back in 2018. Honestly, a bit astonished with myself that I didn't go ahead and splurge on it in that frantic burst of spending during the holiday season, but somehow the purchase of this foundation escaped me. I cannot purchase it in 2019 because it's my no-buy year, and because of the price, frankly, of this foundation, even if I am completely blown away in today's wear test by both the color match and the wear and luxurious skin benefits, in all likelihood, this is not in the price point of a foundation I would ever regularly have in my collection. However, I am a bit of a collector, so we'll see. You may notice I'm filming in a different location in my house. This is actually our little family room / den. We have a fireplace off to my left and a couch. I'm sitting on the coffee table. This is where we hang out and decompress and sometimes eat dinner. But truly the reason I changed the setup is, as many of you have noticed if you're a content creator on YouTube, the lighting has changed fairly dramatically, perhaps in your filming space, due to daylight savings time. So I thought I would take advantage of this pre-afternoon light in front of a western-facing window in the family room in order to cut down on the use of my artificial LED ring light, which is so intense, and while it creates a nice flat canvas for you to see effects on the skin, I feel that it alters to some degree what you're able to see. It's almost like using a magnifying mirror, if you will, in that as you're engaging with people throughout your day, you would never see the level of detail on their skin that is being reflected back at them with their 6 to 10x magnifying mirror. Now, the drawback to this space is my husband just pulled up and he and the dog went on a little adventure this morning, so they're going to barge in and I will lose my privacy. But I will continue to film. Anyway, the product I'm most interested in trying out, I've been hoarding since the holiday season. I was able to pick up a sample size of the MER foundation, a truly luxury product. This is a foundation that retails for something like $130 for an ounce, so it's outside of my comfort zone as far as purchasing power. On the other hand, as with clothing, art, fine art materials, and certainly cosmetics. I'd rather pay the money up front for a quality item than have to replace something that costs less and is subpar. I actually kind of enjoy it when some of my favorite channels change up their backgrounds and pull me into a different context or space in their life. I suppose that appeals to our voyeuristic natures, but it's an interesting way to share another layer of that theater of your identity. If I'm distracted, it's because what I'm looking at behind the camera is a full wall of glass doors looking out onto a wooded backyard, and I see deer routinely cross in the background. I came outside to hang out with my dog, and there's a little pod of deer right between our houses. Yeah, here's my dog. How's it going, Fergus? Don't seem too concerned. Come on, buddy, let's lay down over here. So one of the content creators who I've enjoyed as they change up their backgrounds and invite us into other areas of their life, Jill Christ recently invited us into her walk-in closet, which she seems to be using as a private escape from the hustle and bustle of her world and her two, I believe, young foster children. So I really enjoyed that, Jill. If you, of course, you are not a viewer of my channel, but I really enjoyed that. I was able to see your collection behind you as you filmed, and it was, I feel, very generous of you to share that aspect of your life with us. I also enjoy, I know Michelle Wong has been receiving numerous shout outs and just exponential channel growth. So if you do not know of these other channels, I certainly encourage you to look them up. They are big time, and I am a tiny little insignificant piece of the internet, but I really enjoy when Michelle takes us into a more informal setting where perhaps she's going through and doing a declutter. It's just somehow that different view helps me feel that this is actually a real person. I feel it emphasizes the charm of YouTube content creators, which is that it's less heavily produced than something you might find on regular television media. So the other shout out I'll give is to another YouTube content creator, Tara of Terrible Decisions. Very clever channel name, very vibrant content creator. I discovered Tara because she's also doing a no-buy, and she was kind enough to leave a message on one of my feeblest early attempts at YouTube videos. So I really appreciate that. But I very much enjoy watching her content and love the authenticity of her content, and that she's willing to bring us through on a tour of her home and her collection as it's stored in various locations around her house. She has a beautiful home. So without further ado, I feel like I've delayed the moment of reckoning far too long. It is the Ides of March. It's actually a day after the 15th, and I've just opened my MER foundation. This is the color 12 Natural, and as far as I can tell, this is the most appropriate match for me. If you enjoy trying a variety of foundations and are in the position that I am, where you need to mail order your products most of the time, then I very much recommend the accuracy of the foundation matcher at tentalia.com. I will link that below in the description box. Okay, so on my skin, this is sort of just washed. I have my hair up because it's freshly washed last night, Actually, I'll show you what happens when at its truly untamed state. So that's why it's not just up in a headband, but it's up in a barrette behind, because no matter what I do, my hair is programmed to bend around and stick me in the eyeballs. Okay, so foundation, my face is moisturized. I will be using a Real Beauty blender to apply this foundation. All right, moment of truth. I'm just going to squeeze some of it out on the back of my hand carefully, because who knows, I may get 2 uses out of this packet. Wouldn't that be delightful if I like it? And I will. This is probably half of the content of the package. Consistency is, it is slightly more runny than most of my foundations. Certainly more runny than the It Cosmetics CC cream. I do have a mirror down here, so the color match looks fairly good. I do not have any primers. It's peachier than I normally go, I will tell you that right off the bat. Peachier, a little oranger than I normally go. It is slightly perfumed. Oh, it has such a distinct smell. It's reminding me of a kitchen product. Almost has a salty, briny smell. Alcohol, definitely an alcohol smell. This smells like a high quality port wine. A tawny port. That is so unusual. I've never had that scent. I've never smelled that scent in a foundation before. It is distinctly and exactly the smell of tawny port. It's making me remember some utterly wonderful cooking experiences from my time, my decade or so, where I was working as a chef on the west coast of Florida. Wow, you're just gonna have to excuse me while I drink in this aroma. Oh, I really wish it didn't smell like that, because that takes the temptation level to a whole new height of emotional resonance and connotation. Good Lord. What am I going to do with myself? I hope this light is all right. It's a fairly cool light. I'm again facing a west facing window. I do not have any north facing windows in this house, much to my dismay. It is the ideal light for working under natural light if you're involved in drawing or painting from life. As I am. Okay, I would say the coverage is, as it first applies, it applies nicely with a sponge. Oh, that port smell is just wonderful. It is not settling into any of my fine lines. I have gone on with a fairly sheer layer. I have gone all the way over my eyes. And the other unique thing I'm doing today, although I will talk about it in a different video, is I'm going to be doing a side-by-side comparison of 2 stick concealers. I'm going to go somewhere and depot this remainder into a small sample container, because I'm horribly stingy and I truly can get another application out of this packet. The excess is now safely tucked away in this empty Darphan moisturizer container. The color on the back of my hand, I feel you can see, is definitely peachier than I go with my base products. I don't hate it. I don't love what it's doing but again, I'm looking in a 6x mirror. I don't love what it's doing around my mouth, but that can be a problem area for me. I will be applying 2 different stick concealers, one under each eye. One is my absolute favorite stick concealer. It's the Dupe stick concealer in the color Ivory, and it looks like that. And the other, while doing some research before I purchased the Dupe last year, I found a reference to the fact that the xoxo stick concealer is owned by the producers are owned by the same cosmetic company. So there is a rumor that both of these products are produced by the same people, possibly the same factory. My xoxo is in the shade 11. So for comparison, the Dupe is here, the xoxo is here. This is Ivory and this is Light. This is the Dupe and this is the xoxo. Under my right eye, I will go in with the Dupe. Under my left eye, I will go in with the xoxo. Now for application, I just roll it on the inside of my eye and come down towards the corner, and I will do the same thing with the xoxo. Now immediately you can see the xoxo is more of a brightening effect under my eye than the Dupe. I will tap each out with my ring finger. Really, the darkness on with the architecture of my face is pretty much limited to this inner corner. I have fairly deep set eyes, or a big nose, no matter. That is where the deepest shadow is on my face. All right, it taps in quite nicely. I very much enjoy the finish of this. This is the Dupe. I adore it. I was a little bit reluctant to fork out that kind of money, but it is truly worth it. This quantity will last me for years. In fact, a product like that, I'm under risk of it drying out or spoiling before I actually use it all. And this is the xoxo, same thing, tapping, tapping, tapping. I do bring it across my eyelid to act as a eyelid primer. And I do come across under my lid just with whatever residual is on my ring finger. All right, I will bring you in close so you can see the finish of both the concealers and the foundation. Now, of course, in your daily existence, you really don't get this close to people. All right, so now I will powder with my Dupe finishing powder, which I am very grateful that I came across this in Michelle Wong's powder series, powder intensive series last summer. It is very expensive, but you can buy refills, and again, the quantity of this I would expect to last multiple years. I have loaded my little brush, and I'm just going to begin by rolling it under my eyes, setting both of those stick concealers. And over the eye, I picked up a hair somehow. Then I tap off the excess from this brush on my forehead before going in with my Surratt face brush to finish the powdering. And just a light layer. This foundation does still feel ever so slightly tacky, so it is one that I would set down with powder. I'm not super thrilled with how it's handling the texture on my face. That may be more of a skin dehydration issue. It is a spring and I was just absolutely crushed over the past 3 or 4 days by seasonal allergies, and it takes me 2 or 3 days to get the prescription right, to the point where I can breathe again. So I get a little bit dehydrated during that time. All right, powder is down. The rest of this I feel I will do off camera because I'm not really going to do anything different with my look. I will return when I have my full face on. So everything is now on. I just went in with fairly minimal look today. I'm just gonna be kicking around the house, catching up on grading and errands and things like that, errands inside the house. Hope to do something this afternoon with my husband. Maybe we'll go play frisbee golf. So I'm not really gonna do anything with my hair. Probably have it up in a headband all day. I don't have any blush on, but I do have bronzer fairly high on my cheeks, and just my usual neutral eye look, the dupe look that I put together to dupe the vibe of the NARS Skin Deep palette. Again, referencing Abby Blisswhite's wonderful dip into that palette, which I found very inspirational. So I will check back in a few times today with a wear test. It is just shy of noon. On my lips I have the Chanel Rouge Allure ink in the shade 140 Amaretto. This has been sort of my go-to daytime look for the past several weeks, and I do enjoy, I've also been dipping into some of the sample products that I have, which you'll see when I share an upcoming empties video. I will check back in a few hours and you'll be able to see how the MER foundation is wearing, as well as I'll check in on these 2 concealers. I'll see you in a bit. The clock just bonged 3 times, so I've been wearing this foundation for 3 hours, and I have a few comments and a few close-ups that I'd like to add. In this check-in, I'd like to zoom in real close and show you a couple areas that I noticed just in this after 3 hours wear of the MER liquid foundation. So the first area of concern is right over my lip. It is a little patchy there, and I am still wearing a Retin-A cream. I am still struggling with peeling in my winter skin. I currently don't have any peeling, but I do have some dryish patches on my skin, and that is one of them. So the foundation is having a hard time sticking there. I will say, however, that I'm also, as I mentioned earlier in the video, I do struggle with seasonal allergies. The few times I needed to use a tissue, I had 0 transfer, so that is a definite positive. With all my other foundations, whether it's liquid stick or powder, of course, whenever I have to blow my nose, my tissues are covered with foundation. So that is not happening at all with this MER foundation. My dog is right down here. It's his time to go to the lake, so I'm gonna wrap it up real quickly. 3 o'clock is the hour that we like to go to the lake on weekends, so Fergus and I have hit the road, and I thought it was a good opportunity. It is fairly overcast, so I won't be in raking sun. I thought it would be a good time to do an outdoor check-in on how my MER foundation is wearing. So I am pretty happy with the coverage. I'm pretty happy with the fact that it does not transfer in the slightest when I brush up against it with either my cell phone or with a tissue if I'm having to blow my nose. So that is definitely in the positive comments for this foundation. 5:20 final check-in. I can start to understand some of the cult following behind this product. Again, all I have is a little teeny weeny sample pack, but there is no perceptible change. And I have noticed on close observation in my magnifying mirror that even though I've worn glasses all day, there's very little wear on the bridge of my nose where my frames hit. So that alone is very impressive. No perceptible changes also with the under eye concealer. The pilling that I thought I had noticed from the finishing powder as I set my under eye under the Shiseido, on the Shiseido side, must have just been a temporary effect with that finishing powder, and it is completely undetectable now. So I'm going to hit the treadmill for about, I think I'll go on a 45-minute run, and I will check in one final time after my run to see how this foundation holds up under sweaty conditions. I will check back in a moment. It is 6:15, and this is my final check-in of the evening. This MER foundation apparently deserves all of the accolades and all of the hype. It has not budged. I have gone on a 45-minute run on the treadmill while it's not terribly humid outside. I did work up. You can see it's a little bit dewier, but it has not broken up. The foundation has not broken up on my face. And I'll try to use the newly discovered zoom on my phone to, as I'm editing this video, to get real close up. But I'm thrilled with the overall finish. This is probably my longest wear, although it's not mine. This is probably the most long wearing foundation I've ever tried. Now I'm going to have to, in the next day or so, try my Estee Lauder double wear foundation too. While this one is fresh in my mind, I still have about 1 day's worth of application in that little jar set aside for a special occasion. And I would actually like to compare this to the Estee Lauder double wear to see truly if this MER is worth the additional expense. Particularly since the aroma, that tawny port aroma, is so intoxicating to me. Thank you so much for joining me. It means the world to me, the amount of information I found on YouTube and the number of technical discoveries I've made by jumping in and wading into this medium truly helps me bring technology into my classroom, so I appreciate your indulgence with these videos. If you enjoyed the content, please hit like below. If you have any experience or insight into the MER foundation, especially if you have a skin tone similar to mine, I would love to connect with you. Leave a message in the comment field and I will look you up. Ciao.